Hey team, it's day 68. We are getting closer to that final day as it relates to hitting our goal weight. And I wanted to walk through that today, but I also want to talk about what do you do when you're stuck. Now, I am not afraid to admit that in day 57, I was about where I am today, day 215 pounds. And I know I did some traveling and I went over calories, but roughly 10 days I've been stuck. I've been stuck at a similar weight. So it's like, I've lost a week. What do you do? And so let's walk through what you do when you're stuck. I mean, I walk through what you do when you have red days, but this one's a little different. This one is when your body starts to flatline a little bit based on what you've been doing. I told you it's time to pivot. It's time to change things up. Now, we remember when I got to a little bit of a stuck point last time, I actually just stopped eating carbohydrates at night within 2 hours before I went to bed. I didn't change a whole lot of extra stuff as far as what I was going to do to tweak to get even further. Now, because I've been stuck here for a little bit, and I know I've had some decent influx of calories because of the travel, but overall, not that big of an increase in average over the last 10 days. So what I'm thinking is I have to get a little tighter to drop my body past this level, which I haven't been probably in 8 years, probably 6 or 8 years. I know I've kind of bounced towards this right around the 219, 218 mark, but not hitting that 215. It's almost like if you guys ever watch Stock Charts, that's my support. I keep bouncing off it. I wish I had a resistance of this, to where resistance just means you go underneath, but that's another story. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what to do when you're stuck. So first and foremost, I was 216. I'm not moving. I'm not moving very much, pretty stagnant there. 2,280 calories yesterday. So the reason I put that in red is if you add a 0 to this, should have been at 2160. So that's basically the rule of 10 I've been following. It's pretty simple. It's gotten me down to a decent amount. I've normally stayed under that, but I'm just kind of stepping at that 215, 216, bouncing up and down depending on what I'm doing. I got 132 ounces of water, 7 ounces of sleep. Not as much activity yesterday, but 225 grams of protein. So there's two things that you can do when you're stuck. So for me, I'm gonna grab a different color. Pink matches a little bit. But so the first thing you can do is when you're stuck, what I say is you have to do you have to do something different. So when you think about it, do something different. But what I mean by doing something different is, not changing entirely. So for this, I'm just talking about doing something different as far as what can contribute to your goal, or maybe something different that'll help accentuate or get you over this hump. And for me, I can look at a couple different things. So if this is staying pretty stagnant, I can say, okay, calories, I definitely need to adjust. So I've got to get a little tighter because I can get tighter in my calories. And then when I take a look at my activity. So I've told you that activity, I'm just keeping around 30 minutes. What I found is my body's hit somewhere. So what can I do from my activity perspective? So I'm going to check and I'm going to adjust. And then, my protein, I'm like, okay, I said 200 grams, but I've a lot of times been way over that. So I'm going to say, okay, tighten that up and adjust. So the reason that came to my mind the other day about hitting your macros is because I thought to myself, man, I probably, even though I do a little bit of that hitting your macros thing, I probably should look at that. Honestly, with where I've been at from a plateau perspective, and I don't like saying plateau because it kind of makes you think that you're going to stay there forever. I believe I can get a decent adjustment by doing two things. Because I've done them before, and it just was one of those things that my goal won't be achieved. I truly do believe unless I put something in, I don't have a chance of hitting the 206 unless I pivot, unless I'm agile. And I told you guys a long time ago, I wanted a proof of concept for calories, water, sleep, that it can get you down in your weight to a specific spot, and I believe we've proven that. I think totally we've proven that. It's gonna get you to a nice healthy weight, and gradually over time, if I kept just on this, would I get to that 206? Probably. I actually really do think I would. I'm slowing to a halt because it starts fast in the beginning, and I told you guys it gradually starts to flatline a little bit. And over time, you're going to continue to roll down. So would I've gotten to 206 this way? Absolutely. Probably greater than 90 days. So that's one thing you have to give yourself is some time. What I found for my body is like, man, my homeostasis or my body holding on to things, it's going to go slow from 215 onwards if I would just continue this approach. So do something different. The first thing I'm going to do for me, and this is for me, the first thing I'm going to look at is my calories. I think the rule of 10 is right, but I'm going to say my macros. So instead of just willy-nilly saying, not willy-nilly, but just saying, you know what, I want 2 grams or 1 gram of protein per body weight, 200 plus is what I said. Now I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to keep it around 206. That's my goal weight. So I'm going to adjust that to goal weight. So then I'm going to go 206 protein. So that is my goal grams per day. Okay, so I'm going to go 206. And then you say, oh, what else are you going to do? Well, I'm going to do exactly what I kind of did yesterday on the board. So I'll put this in red so you can see it. So I'm going to go 206 grams of protein. I'm going to go 70 grams of fat. And this is all approximate of what you want to do. I'm going to tighten up what I eat to see if I can budge past this. So 206, 70 grams of protein. And what was it yesterday? I think it was like 136, 137 of carbohydrates. Let me do the math on this real quick. So 206 times 4 equals 24. 70 times 9, that's 9 calories per gram for fat. So this is protein, fat, carb. 70, that's 630. And then, so we got 4, 5, 14, 54. So what did we say yesterday? So that is, and I want to stay under 2,060 calories. So the 2,060 calories, so that would be, I just did this yesterday, equals 606 for calories. Take that divided by 4, you get 15, 4, 1, 25, yeah, 150 grams of carbs. So I'm going to say, where's my eraser here? Carb, I'm going to go 150 times 4 equals 600. So my total calories for the day will be 4, 5, 20, 54. So almost that rule of 10 of 2060 if you put that in. So 2,054 calories per day. I'm going to hit my macros with, I'm going to shoot for 206 for the protein, 70 and 150 for the carbohydrates. People might be like, man, that carbohydrate is high. If I find that I stay in this plateau for a little bit, I'll adjust there first before I'll adjust on the protein because the carb is a little high. So that's what I'm going to do for my adjustment is my macros. So the third thing, let me use a different color here. I'll use brown because it's a little contrast. So the third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my activity. So right now I've been just lifting, right? And we know that in a lifting, sometimes I do a little bit of cardio. I told you I changed it up the workout a little bit, got sore. But for the most part, I wanted to just keep walking or lifting. The majority of time I've just been lifting. Now, do I burn calories when I lift? Yes. I calculated out I probably burn because I don't lift super hard and super tough workouts, but sometimes I lift super heavy. But I don't know that I am getting enough flush and burn out of that 30 minutes of activity. So I'm like, okay, what's the other thing you can do? So 2,054 calories a day, that is actually where I normally want to hit, right? So I'm going to be shooting for that, but in the same sense, activity, I'm going to step up the cardio. And those are just two kind of things that you can do to look at this. So you can go with, what are your macros looking like, or what specifically, how's your calorie breakdown going? Maybe I think I was a little too high on the protein, so we're really doing a macro exchange because I've been around that 2,000 calories here or there. But let's get a little tighter on hitting that every day for the next couple of weeks. 3 weeks, I think. Yeah, 3 weeks. So activity, I'm going to up the cardio. So what that means is just I'm going to still lift. I'm still going to lift, but I'm going to throw in cardio sessions at least 3 times a week, minimum. Now, when I talk about cardio 3 times a week, so what I'll do is I'll continue to get my lifting cycles in, but instead of lifting for a little longer, taking a little more rest, I will do probably as much volume of lifting and exercises, but I'll also throw some cardio in the morning or in the evening, but my cardio is not going to be something crazy. It's I'm a big believer in steady state cardio when you're lifting and when you lose weight. I could do HIIT. One thing HIIT does to me though when I'm lifting with it is high intensity interval training does take a lot out of me. And since I'm not a morning person for working out very much, I normally run my cardio session directly after I lift or right around the same time as I lift. And I try to never do it before because I like to have energy to lift because that's just who I am. So what I will do then is probably run slow cardio, or I say slow cardio, but it's steady state cardio. You can go decently fast for 20 to 30 minutes roughly after I get done with my lifting. So that's what I'm going to do for the next 3 weeks. What it's going to do, so you say, well, why did you do that, Richard? What it's going to do? Well, obviously, I know I was a little high on calories, but I've been actually a little under, like 1,900 calories on average 5 or 6 weeks in a row. And then last week I bumped up a little bit, so I was at about 2,100. So overall, I've averaged right around that 2,000 calorie range, exactly the bottom range of where we wanted after about the 3rd week. So it's like, okay, maybe those calories, maybe my body's just good at this weight, and it kind of wants to stay here for a little while. And it's going to take a little nudge to get me through there. So if I lower my protein a little bit, but still above what I said, 1 pound or 1 gram per pound of body weight, make sure I'm getting enough fats. But then my carbs, I think what that might help me do is that'll help me with my workouts. And if I up my cardio, it'll give me that little bit more energy that I need. Okay. So we know that carbs and proteins have the same amount of calories per. So if you take away a carb and you put it on a protein, it's 1 for 1. And if you keep your fats the same. So I'm going to try and do that. So anyway, this is what happens when you get stuck. You got to look at doing something different, but I'm not saying everything entirely. So for me specifically, if you get stuck like I am for 10 days in a row and if you really hovered on the same weight, take a look at your program. I think this program is great. I mean, started at 233, 216, I'm 17 pounds. I was 250 and 18 pounds. When you think about that, you're like, okay, got it, good. Make sure you're getting your sleep, starting to do that better. But in the same sense, it's like, well, lower that protein down a little bit. Doctor said I should have had it a little lower anyway, but I don't care. What he says, I do actually, but in the same sense. I want to make sure that I have these carbs a little bit higher to give me some of that energy because I know I'm going to kick up the cardio. So even though I'm eating more carb, I'm keeping my calories about the same, but that will give me the energy to do more cardio, which is a little more of the activity side. You'll probably see this activity bump up to 45 minutes to an hour. And that means that I will be doing a little bit extra more of this cardio, which means I'll be burning the calories. And because I'm keeping my calorie intake roughly the same, burning more calories means over time I'm probably going to drop out of this zone right here and drop the weight. And this is only because I have a little over 3 weeks on that goal. And honestly, you will hit these places. You will hit the places where you get stuck in any weight loss program. There are things you're going to have to do. For me specifically, at this point in time, this is what I'm going to tweak. And if you have questions, if you're stuck, leave some comments, DM me, do whatever. Let's talk about it. And I believe that in the end, changing up something small and then having to focus on it for a little bit of time or until you get through that plateau, it actually helps you learn a little bit to see how your body's reacting to the things. So I know I said, hey, you're going to hit your macros. Well, I'm actually going to adjust to that right now. So eating a little bit of crow on that because I'm going to do it because it's something I'm going to try. And with that, I'm going to try the cardio. Some people might ask, well, why are you doing both? Well, the reason I'm doing both is because I still believe calories, water, sleep are definitely the formula with some activity, you know, and that's give or take. And I like the protein, but like calories, water, sleep are still there. Calories in, calories out. You can't lose weight unless you're in a calorie deficit. So for me, I was losing weight just fine. However, I want to start bumping up the cardio to burn a few more calories to get me past that. So I'm going to bump up my carbs and take away from the protein because I like my fat at 70, which means that because I'm taking from protein and adding the carbs, I'm actually doing an exercise to hit more macros. So in the end, you can call it what you want. I would like to say that I did a macro exchange, and that's what I'm going to focus on. But if I do not do a little bit more activity in there, because I really haven't been doing outside of lifting, I haven't been really getting my heart rate up a ton. Occasionally I'll do some cardio, but now I'm going to focus on that cardio session after I lift at least 3 days a week, see if that can nudge me through my barrier. So thank you so much for your support. I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, like I said, leave them below, leave them in the comments. Let me know if you want me to talk about anything in future or subsequent videos. And as always, I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Thanks again.